are struggling with overwhelm, feeling burnout, feeling like there's a fire that always needs your attention, and never actually getting to your to-do list because everyone else's priorities just override the programming for the day, then this episode is gonna be for you. Hi, I'm Tiffany Sims. I am your burnout recovery coach and holistic wellness coach. I am worried about treating you as a whole person, not just segmenting your life into these little buckets that aren't allowed to collide, where you can only be succeeding in one area or the other, never multiple at the same time. That's nonsense. Like, let's help you get fully aligned from the inside out. And today I want to talk about one change that I made that made one of the biggest differences for how my days went and how I was able to gain control of my days, leave the office, go to bed, leave the office to get back home, go to bed at the end of the day, feeling really accomplished and not frustrated by the way the day went. Who wants to hear that? Hit that like button, be sure to subscribe, and let's hop in. That one change is going to sound so ridiculously simple and almost too cheesy to be true. And you're going to say, but Tiff, you don't know my life. That's not going to be an option. And so before I share with you what this tip is, this little trick that I learned, I want you to take a second and pause and just accept that maybe, just maybe, this tip is going to help you. I want you to be open to learning and receiving a gift without immediately shooting it down. And the reason I say this is because if you had asked me 6 years ago to do this one thing that I'm going to share with you, I would have been like, you don't know my life. That's not an option for me. No, it won't work. And I would not have heard you. And I wouldn't have received this precious, precious gift. So I just want you to take a second to just put the walls down, unlock your reality, and just accept that this could actually help you. Are you ready? I want you to turn your notifications on your phone off. No more Facebook updates, no more Instagram notifications, no dinging because you got a text message, no email ding with like the little pop-up on your screen. God, turn the notifications off. And the first thing that you're going to say, because the first time I thought about it, I was like, this isn't going to work, is, well, how is my boss going to get a hold of me? What happens if my kids need something? What if my spouse, whatever, you don't know my life. I'm on call 24/7. This won't work for me. And so I want to share a little story about how we got here, how this tip changed my life. And so before branching out as a burnout recovery expert and holistic wellness coach who focuses on high performance habits, I was an emerging leader at a Fortune 250 company. I worked in a high pressure, high stakes, male dominated pressure cooker of an industry, and for 12 and a half years. And I was trained going into that. I was 24, 25 years old when I started that journey. And I was bred very early on that everything is a fire that needs to be fought. Everything is urgent. It is unacceptable for you to be unavailable. It is unacceptable for you to say no. It is unacceptable for all of the things, the boundaries, the life. Like, I'm sorry, you're missing Thanksgiving. We got things to do at work. And I recognize like there is a time and a place for all hands on deck and to kiss your loved one on the forehead and be like, I'm really sorry I'm missing this. I got to get to work. But that doesn't need to be every second of every day. And so one of the first things I did, one of the first steps in kind of like detoxing myself from that like dopamine hit and that like rush of my phone pinging was I just turned off all of the banners and notifications for my social media. I no longer went off at my desk. Like I would check in when I went to use the restroom or when I got to my car or when I was looking to like goof off for a little bit, but it was intentional. I was no longer like responding every time it dung because someone posted something, liked something, shared something, messaged me something. And all of a sudden, my anxiety, with nothing else changing, my anxiety started to lessen. I stopped living in that like reaction mode. And a lot of people call that your fight or flight responses, reflexes. Like that's your body signaling into a change to jolt you in case a saber-toothed tiger was coming to eat you and your family so that you could react. And so like I was able to calm that down, which meant that when things were truly a threat, my body was actually ready to respond because I was less chronically fatigued from that like response, that constant response. It wears you down. It wears out your adrenals. And so that was a really awesome thing. And then over time I realized that every time I got a text message, I would get this like panic feeling, and like anxiety would like blow out the top of my head because I was so afraid that when the phone dinged at 4 a.m. in the morning, that meant that it was going to be a really crappy day. I was going to have to get out of bed right then and there and get dressed in like 30 seconds and get to work to respond on whatever it was that just broke. I worked in nuclear power, and so like that is a very high stakes business. You know, our job is to keep the public safe while keeping power on the grid. That was the job. And so there were very real times where it was those midnight phone calls where you got dressed and you went into work because that was part of the job and it was required and it was actually urgent. But then there were other times that my boss would be awake at 4 o'clock in the morning and would be blowing up my phone with all the thoughts on his head, on his mind for the day. And so like I'm starting my day in reaction mode rather than starting my day with intention. And so I started, there's a lot of starts in that sentence, but so I started turning off my notifications for my phone for text messages. And the only things that came through were phone calls. Because the truth is, if it is important, if it was an all hands on deck, the world is coming to an end moment, which no matter what your career is, there are those moments where it's like you have to stop what you're doing and come support the team because things are gonna fall apart. Like that is a real thing. But I can promise you that in those moments, it is never a text message. Ever. Never a text message. It is always a phone call. And so your phone will ring if it is an actual emergency. And let's say that the person who's messaging you was trying not to disturb you, so they texted you and you don't get back to them in the reasonable time that they have allotted for what reasonable means. They will call you. They'll call you. I promise they will call. So you will not miss anything if you turn your text notifications off and turn your ringer to vibrate. And then the last piece of this, so we did that. And that was actually a really hard transition, not just for me, but for my manager, for the team, because I started then screening my texts of me making the mental decision of what came through as if this was something that needed to be taken care of right now, or if this is tomorrow's problem. And I ranked that very appropriately. It wasn't like, oh, I don't want to deal with it. It wasn't like, F them, screw them, I'm home, I'm clocked out, whatever. No, it was like, no, that's not urgent. That's tomorrow. I'm going to deal with it then. Like the information's there. I know I need to address it tomorrow. And when I started doing that, it allowed the people on my team to be able to filter messages and urgency a little different. Was it an immediate change? No, it was a hard transition. But over time, by me learning to set these boundaries and not responding to everything as if it was urgent and really ranking things as they came into my life, whether it was like through my desk, through my phone, the people around me were able to be like, oh, they started coming, let me rephrase that. They started coming to me with the priority ahead of time. Hey, I have this thing. Can you work on it? I need it back by such and such. Instead of like, I needed everything yesterday. And it started with this simple of me starting by turning off my social media notifications, and that evolving into turning off my text message notifications, which evolved into my phone going on vibrate so that it didn't disrupt my family life and my personal time. Because if you're not recharging, and then you can't go back to work and give everything you had. If you're not recharging, you're going to be biting your kid's head off. You're going to bite your partner's head off. Like dinner's going to become this big blow up thing all the time because you have nothing left to give. And something as simple as the notifications on your phone help create and open up that bandwidth so that you're able to be more calm, more present, and more intentional. And so I challenge you today. I challenge you right now to open up all the social medias that you check into in a day: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest. Maybe you're subscribed to like the Forbes magazine updates. I don't know what it is. Your email, work and personal. I want you to go turn off the notifications. No banners, no dings. Like you can leave the little icon count that says how many notifications you have, but go turn them off and watch what happens over time. Set your intentions. Be in a great space and be all in for your career and your personal life, and then there won't be any resentment in this new boundary that you're creating. If you love this, if this is helpful for you and you want to hear more tips and tricks that I have learned over the last 25 years that have allowed me to become a fully aligned person who is no longer burnt out, stressed out, or unhealthy in her body, make sure to hit that subscribe button and we'll chat soon.